all know a guy who only occasionally shaves for big occasions, and it's because that occasional shave really hurts. It's the time of year for big occasions, and yet there he is, suffering with that cheap drugstore razor. Let's help him out. Henson Shaving's line of razors, built with aerospace precision, deliver a smooth shave your dad, brother, and even son can enjoy, eventually. With replacement blades just 10 cents each, you'll buy it once, and they'll use it for life. How's that for the perfect gift? Celebrate with 100 free blades on your first purchase, and no subscription headaches. HensonShaving.com/holiday.
Hello and welcome to History for Weirdos.
We're your hosts, Andrew
and Stephanie.
And each week, we're going to take you on a journey into the strange, obscure, and relentlessly entertaining corners of human history.
Now listen up, friends, because it's about to get weird.
Welcome back, weirdos, and happy Monday.
Happy Monday!
Woohoo! And that's a real woohoo this time, by the way.
Yes.
Not a sarcastic one. Well, before we start this episode, I really wanted to give a shout out to one of our listeners.
Yes, we wanted to thank some very special weirdo. You're all special, but this weirdo did something really
kind of
cool.
Above and beyond, yeah.
Above and beyond the call of duty of a podcast listener.
Absolutely. And this special shout out goes to Tiffany, who went out with her husband to the Lawson Memorial Cemetery, where they took a few photos of my ancestor's grave.
Yeah, that was from a previous episode that you just did on your ancestor, William Lawson, the rebel, the Scottish rebel in both Scotland and the U.S., the modern-day U.S., and we're going to share those pictures on Instagram because they're really good and they're really cool.
They're really high quality pictures, and they're the most high quality, I think, like that you would find on the internet.
Yes, I agree. And here, let me see if we could look through his tombstone. Read what it says. It's so cute.
Yeah, the tombstone says, William Lawson, a Scottish rebel, husband of Rebecca.
Like, first and foremost,
yeah.
Scottish rebel. Rebecca comes second.
I know. I'm so proud of, like, my Scottish, like, heritage. Yes. I think just for that one line, like, alone.
Yeah, so we loved it so much, Tiffany. Thank you. And I hope that you're listening now and that you keep listening because we appreciate this so much.
Yeah, seriously. It honestly, like, made my entire week when I saw that email.
We get we're super lucky. We get lots of really nice, very encouraging, informative, funny emails from you all. And I feel like that's not super commonplace. Like, I think,
no,
especially when we're talking about history and we're such novices, I'm surprised we don't get a bunch of emails telling us how wrong we are.
Yeah, just a bunch of hate mail.
Yeah, we get really, really awesome messages. So thank you to everyone.
Yeah, you guys are so awesome. And honestly, it's just incredibly humbling to have you guys email us, give us just like even comments on our Instagram posts.
Yes.
It's just... It really does make our week.
It like makes it really motivating for me to...
It does, yeah.
To like keep an eye out for cool, weird stories and to write the episodes and things like that. So
yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Well, I've done 2 episodes in a row. Not to humble brag or anything. Yeah. So I think it's your turn this week.
It's finally my turn?
Yeah, it's finally your turn.
Okay, well, I guess I should... trigger warning the heck out of this one.
Ooh.
Because it does involve lots... It's a kind of weirdo that's not like the chill kind of weirdo.
Oh, it's a bad weirdo.
It's a bad weirdo. So typically when we say weirdo, we mean people who were ahead of their time in history or who were pioneers for other people who want to, do cool shit, whatever.
Yeah.
This time it's like just really... awful and strange and scary and spooky.
Ooh.
So this does involve murder. It does involve sexual abuse. It involves children, the death of children.
Oh my god, are you serious?
Yeah.
Sorry. I don't know why I'm laughing. Maybe because I'm nervous now.
Yeah, it sounds intense. I promise I do not go into graphic details. There are... Once, you hear the case, if you want to look into more details, there are all over the internet. You can find them, but I keep it, minimal information just to tell the story.
Yeah.
But if you don't want to listen to those things, then don't listen to them. That's totally cool with us. We understand. But this is the story of the child murderer, Mary Bell.
I'm literally out of I don't know what to say. Okay.
So child murderer as in she was a child?
Oh. Okay.
And I'm gonna jump right into it.
Yeah. What is going on?
Yes, the tragedies begin on May 25th, 1968, when a group of kids finds the remains of a 4-year-old boy named Martin Brown in an abandoned building in the suburb of Scotswood in Newcastle upon Tyne, England. I don't know if I said that right.
I think that sounds right.
We're in England. We're in a suburb. It's 1968, and this is, at the time, I don't know what this place is like now, but this is a more economically depressed area, and this young 4-year-old boy's body is found by other children. The cause of death in this tragedy is initially determined, I think some folks said poisoning or fright was one of the causes of death, so they're not sure why this young boy has passed away. And young Martin Brown grew up with his sister, mother, and father in the neighborhood, and he was known to be a really happy, smiley, cheeky kid who was really well loved. So it was a big tragedy, and the whole community, of course, is like shocked and confused and really upset. Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, were you going to say something?
I'm like, okay, I don't want to get ahead of the story here, but so I'm guessing it's the child murderer who is murdering children. I thought when you said child murder, I was like, okay, so it's a grown adult murdering kids, and you're like, no, it's a child.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, a child murdering adults. Interesting. Oh man. This is just bad.
This is not fun times. I didn't promise this would be a fun one, but this is really, it's interesting. It's tragic and interesting.
Okay.
So a few days later, after the young boy's remains are found, a local nursery is broken into, and police found 4 really weird notes, like some of them confessing, like, I, murdered Martin Brown, and others just like with expletives, just like F off, you be,
okay.
Just really weird stuff. So the police at the time were like, okay, these were like some creepy teens doing a harmless prank.
Right.
And we're just going to ignore it for now. But it comes back into play later.
Oh, snap.
Then on the 31st of July, 1968, so a few weeks later, 3-year-old Brian Howe is found dead on the waste ground off of Scotswood Road. Brian was last seen by his parents in the street outside of his house playing with one of his siblings, the family dog, and 2 local girls. The cause of death in this case was able to be determined. It was strangulation, and his body was mutilated.
Oh my god.
But I will not go into those details. Those are some of the details that if someone wanted to look into it independently, they could. But important detail is that a pair of scissors with one of the legs bent, one of the scissor legs bent, is found near him, and that is what at the time they believed was used to mutilate him. So this is where it gets even more perplexing. The cause of death, like I said, was strangulation, but the coroner was like, wow, the amount of force used was really light, and like the prints, the markings left on his neck suggest that this was another child that did it. This is not an adult.
Oh my god, they could tell back then.
Yeah, I think maybe... How rude, babe.
I know. I'm so sorry for that cough, everyone.
Andrew's still getting over, when you're sick and then you cough for like 8 million weeks after.
Yeah, that's basically me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I apologize to everyone.
As you should. So, during the investigation, once they determined, like, this was a kid that did this to another kid, 100 detectives are, like, put on the case, and they're assigned to the investigation to interview more than 1,200 children in the area.
Jesus.
Could you imagine?
100 detectives? That's insane.
That's so much. And again, they took this really seriously, which I'm kind of surprised for 68. I don't know. I feel like
I'm kind of surprised myself. Again, though, it's also England, which we're not obviously from, so.
Yeah, so I don't know if they just are more on top of their shit over there, but over here, I feel like
that wouldn't.
In the 60s, no one had their shit together.
No, not with like mass murderers.
Yeah, not with that. But also, could you imagine the detectives that have to talk to all the like murderous kids?
Which was like a vast majority of them, obviously.
Yeah, like I don't know how hard to put kids through that unnecessarily.
Right.
And also to have to listen to little kids ramble on about like their favorite pet lizard or something.
Yeah, or who their favorite dinosaur was. Yeah.
Very exhaustive search here, right?
Absolutely.
So, during the questioning, they identify that those everyone keeps bringing up the 2 little girls that were seen with the second victim before he disappeared. They were seen by numerous witnesses playing with him. And these 2 little girls were named Mary Bell and Norma Bell. They were next door neighbors, but funny enough, they are not related. They both just have the last name Bell.
Oh, so those are okay. I thought it was like one of those old timey names where it's like Mary Jane or Mary Beth.
Mary
Beth on the prairie.
Oh my god.
Yeah. I apologize to everyone. Yeah.
No,
that's like their last name, Bell.
They both have the last name Bell and they're not related.
Interesting, okay.
Oh,
no.
Oh god, this episode.
Yeah, this episode's just gonna be a cough fest.
So the 2 girls, everyone keeps mentioning them, right? And then all the detectives who interviewed them, I think they were interviewed like at least 3 times at this point. Every time each of the girls tells their story, it's different. It's inconsistent. They're the only kids that keep saying different things.
Interesting. Okay.
The other kids, surprisingly enough, like we said, little kids are random and they tell you random weird shit you didn't ask about. The other kids are consistent in what happened that day, and these kids are not. So, during one of the interviews, 11-year-old Mary Bell actually reported that she saw a local 8-year-old boy present with them as well when they were playing with Brian. Again, that's the second victim, the 3-year-old boy. Mm-hmm. And she said that he was pushing Brian, that he was hurting him. And then in her statement, she added, "I saw him trying to cut off a cat's tail with the scissors." This is a quote. "But there was something wrong with them. One leg was broken or bent." That detail caught the eye of Detective Chief Inspector Dobson because only the police knew about that broken pair of scissors, remember, that were found with the young boy's remains. So the local boy that Mary named was quickly questioned, but it turns out that he was nowhere near Brian on that day. Numerous witnesses place him at the airport, leaving for a trip with his family.
Oh, so do you think he was even hurting that poor little kitty?
Oh, no, because he was at the airport.
Right, okay.
Don't worry, the cat was fine.
Okay, good. Thank God.
So...
It's the important things here that matter.
Very detail-oriented, my love. Yeah. I appreciate it. So, the police are like, what the F is going on, right? This Dobson guy, it sounds like he was the lead detective on the case, and he is really suspicious of these 2 little girls, but he needs more evidence. So he goes back to Norma Bell's parents, and they let him know that she wants to confess.
Okay.
She said she did some shit. She wants to confess, and he is there to take her official statement. And what she reports is that they were playing Mary and her, so her and her neighbor.
Okay.
Mary's the one that said, "Oh, this other boy did it."
Right.
But her and Mary are playing with the little boy, and then she said Mary, in quotes, got all funny before she started pushing him several times, and then she started strangling him. And then she asked Norma to help strangle him because Mary's hands were, in quotes, getting thick. I don't know if that was like slang, like getting tired or cramping or something. But so Norma confesses to this.
Okay.
So then the police go to confront Mary about the discrepancies in her reports as well as what Norma said they did. And Mary gets very defensive, very agitated, and she says, in quotes, "You're trying to brainwash me. I will get a solicitor to get me out of this."
Oh my God. And she's like, what, 11 at this time?
11.
I can't imagine saying that as an 11-year-old. This kid's messed up. But also very smart. Scary.
Yes, I would have peed myself if I was 11 and police talked to me and I felt like I was in trouble.
Yeah.
Let alone, also, again, it's 1968. How does this 11-year-old know about brainwashing?
Yeah, wait a minute. That's actually a really good point.
That quote stood out to me. I was like, what?
Yeah.
You're trying to brainwash me. Like, that wasn't, I think, a well-known psychological thing until, like, the 70s, right?
Hey, you know better than I.
No, I wouldn't.
Yeah.
Listeners, let us know the history of brainwashing.
Yeah.
Could Seriously. We just Google it now? Yes. Will we? No.
But will we know? That's so true.
But it seems, I don't know, it seemed like, what's the fancy word you always use about history when things are out of their correct time?
Oh, anachronistic.
It seemed anachronistic to me for her to be making that reference.
That is strange. You're right. Good pickup.
Yeah, and then I think solicitor, maybe that's British for a lawyer?
It is, yeah.
Okay.
British. I know. I love how the language we speak is English, but now, like, it's more popularized nowadays because of American media.
Yeah, like film and TV and stuff.
Same with, like, Spanish, right, in Latin America.
Yeah,
more so than Spain. And then Portuguese with, like, Brazil.
Yeah, Brazil's a lot bigger.
Yeah.
I wonder where Portuguese media comes from. We're getting off on a tangent.
Yeah, that's a huge tangent. Never mind. Sorry, guys.
So, Brian Howe is buried at a local cemetery. This is, again, the second victim. On August 7th, 1968, in a ceremony that was attended to by over 200 people, including Mary Bell.
Oh my God.
DCI, which is British for lead detective. DCI,
Thank you.
Yeah, DCI Dobson, who had planned to arrest both girls that day, found Mary standing outside of the Howe household as the child's coffin was brought from the home at the beginning of the funeral procession. Mm-hmm. Dobson later stated, in quotes, "She stood there laughing and rubbing her hands. I thought, my God, I've got to bring her in. She'll do another one."
Oh my God.
Laughing and rubbing her hands like she's a freaking, like, 1930s cartoon villain.
Yeah.
Like,
or one of those dudes that's like on TikTok when they see like an attractive lady, you know, and they're rubbing their hands and they're creeping, you know? Like,
what the actual heck? Imagine seeing that. Imagine seeing a little... How awful, first of all, to witness the funeral of a child and to see another child standing there laughing.
That's absolutely psychotic.
Right? I would...
Like, literally.
I would scream.
Yeah. Yeah, I think he made the right choice arresting her.
I agree. Both girls were formally charged with the murder of Brian Howe that evening, and in a response to the charges brought against her, Mary reportedly replied to the officers, quote, "That's all right by me."
Oh my God. Oh. Wow, this girl's scary.
Chills. Later during the investigation, they were able to link the first victim's death, Martin Brown, to Mary as well.
Oh my God.
Apparently, Dobson, the whole time when he first saw the remains of the second boy, he thought that the two were linked, but again, he didn't have any evidence. It was just kind of like a gut feeling.
Right.
Like, he didn't think that the first boy died of random poisoning or fright. But the first boy didn't have any strangulation marks on his neck, so
Interesting.
They couldn't tell at first. But something came up during the investigation that did link Mary to his death.
Okay.
So, let's look a little bit at Mary Bell, who seems to be our main player here, and her upbringing. Mary Flora Bell was born May 26, 1957, in Northumberland, England, to Betty McCricket, a 19-year-old sex worker.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Mary's biological father is unknown, but about a year after Mary was born, her mother, Betty, married a career criminal, professional armed robber, Billy Bell, which is where she got her last name from. Betty appears to have had untreated bipolar disorder and alcoholism as well.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So Mary, we're going to get into some like rough details about her upbringing, because different reports from their family members state that Betty had actually tried to kill Mary several times. Things like she told her that these were Smarties. I think that's like a candy over there.
Oh yeah, I know Smarties.
Oh, you know Smarties?
Yeah.
I had no idea what this was. And they were sleeping pills, and she had to go to the hospital to get her stomach pumped a couple times.
Oh my God.
She also had been witnessed choking her daughter on numerous occasions. Mary herself later reported experiencing repeated sexual abuse as her mother forced her to engage in sex acts with her male clients.
Oh my God.
Starting at the age of 5.
Oh, Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
This is just all around rough.
It's so awful.
No wonder she grew, not even grew up. Like, she was such a psychopath at such a young age.
I can't imagine. Again, like, it's not that it excuses violence, right? Or excuses terrible behavior, but I can't imagine enduring that much trauma and abuse from, like, day one.
Exactly. It's just no surprise, I guess.
No surprise that something really messed up was going to come from it. You're right. Mm-hmm.
Especially, like, the more we know now about, like, childhood trauma and the linkage to, like, violence.
Or, like, health issues, addiction, so many things. And she grew up in, like I mentioned earlier, it was a really rough neighborhood. Mm-hmm. That's my next note that I wrote down. I'm so smart. Belle grew up in the Scotswood area of Newcastle, which, again, was a really low-income area at the time. I don't know about now. But domestic violence and criminal behavior were really commonplace here. Understandably, Mary struggled to make friends with other kids, and she was known to be really cold and withdrawn, which again is a very common symptom of trauma. She also wet the bed a lot, and her mom would publicly, like, hang the sheets or bring out the mattress when she did to shame her.
Oh my God.
But bedwetting...
Talk about Mom of the Year award.
Exactly. Bedwetting is... It's not like a conclusive sign of trauma, but it's one of those things that past a certain age can really indicate that a child is under a lot of stress, at the very least. So she had trouble making friends, and she did make one friend she was about 5 years old, and it was a little girl who lived on the same street as her, and she, like, first friend, they started to get along. But, very tragically, this girl died. She was hit by a car in front of Mary, like, while they were playing in the street.
Oh my God. But Mary didn't have anything to do with it, you think?
I don't know. None of the reports suggested it, but, like, I guess who would know, right?
Right.
Like, if she pushed her or something, but apparently that's how this little girl died, and Mary was really upset about it.
Interesting. So probably not then.
I don't know. It's a really good question. Yeah. So prior to the two murders, these two young murders that we started the episode with, Belle had previously attacked other children at school physically and was known to participate in vandalism and theft around the neighborhood. It's not good stuff.
No, not good stuff at all.
Mm-hmm. So we're going to look into the trial. And during the trial, the details of what happened, across these few weeks with these two deaths became more clear. Mm-hmm. And the details are freaking disturbing. Mary Belle had lured her first victim, Martin Brown. She eventually confesses to this. Okay. Martin Brown to an abandoned building and strangled him there on her own. But I don't know why it didn't leave marks. The next day was Mary's 11th birthday.
Oh my God.
She was technically 10. So the next day was her 11th birthday, and she was at her friend Norma Belle's house when Norma's father recounted during the trial that he walked into Norma's room. He walked into the little girl's room, and he found Mary strangling Norma's little sister. Like, choking her, I guess.
Oh my God.
He pulled Mary off of her and, like, scolded her, but he didn't think anything of it at the time. He thought it was just little kids playing, like, roughhousing, and it went too far.
Oh, wow.
So he didn't say anything to anyone.
Right.
Then, a few days later, it was both Mary and Norma that had broken into that preschool, remember?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
And they're the ones that wrote the creepy confessional notes that Mary had killed Martin Brown. The police were even able to compare the girls' handwriting from their schoolwork to the notes found and determine them to be a match. Although, I've heard, I don't know if you've heard this, that handwriting analysis isn't like...
It's like a pseudoscience?
Yeah, that it's not admissible in court anymore?
I don't think so. I'm pretty sure it's not, actually.
That's so interesting, because I feel like it was such a staple throughout history for a long time.
Yeah.
Martin Brown's mother, so this again is the first victim. Martin Brown's mother also reported that just a few days after 4-year-old Martin died, Mary had gone to their home, knocked on the door, and asked if she could see Martin. And the mom felt bad at the time, like she felt sad, and she explained to the little girl, oh no, like, sweetie, you can't see him, he died. And Mary responded, I know he's dead. I want to see him in his coffin.
Oh, what a sick little girl.
The mom was so freaked out, so upset that she ended up just closing the door in her face. She didn't know what to do or say because she smiled after she said it.
Oh, God. That is so creepy.
So creepy. So, like, I don't, like, just all the bad vibes. Like, every bone in your body must be screaming when that happens.
Oh, yeah, because that's just like, ugh.
Andrew made a very disturbed face. I know you can't see it.
Yeah, but it's disturbed.
I
already know the face I made, and it's disturbed.
So, on December 17th, 1968, Norma Bell, Mary's friend and neighbor, was acquitted due to the finding that she was, in quotes, simple-minded. Oh my God. And she didn't understand the weight of her actions in helping Mary, and that she just blindly was doing whatever Mary told her to.
I mean, honestly, that sounds like that was probably the right call. Mm-hmm. It sounds like she just was being manipulated.
Yes, because it's also a thing for predators, right? This is an 11-year-old that we're talking about, but absolutely showing predatory behavior, picking younger kids as her victims. Mm-hmm. It's also a thing that they tend to find someone that's not as smart as them to manipulate. It sounds like that's what happened here.
Absolutely.
So Mary Bell, however, was convicted of manslaughter on the grounds of diminished responsibility, the jury taking their lead from her diagnosis by court-appointed psychiatrists who described her as displaying, in quotes, classic symptoms of psychopathy. So I think that's super interesting.
So they didn't charge her with murder? They charged her with manslaughter?
Manslaughter because they diagnosed her with psychopathy.
But that's like...
That doesn't make sense to me.
That doesn't make any sense. That's ridiculous.
I feel like that's more of a reason to charge her with
Yeah,
murder.
exactly.
So I don't know. This is so interesting because it's 68. So again, this is when we're having really early understandings of psychopathy, of serial killers, of those childhood markers,
right,
of future serial killers. So I wonder if they just didn't understand the gravity of what they were even talking about.
Right, exactly. It's interesting too because this is like right before those guys at the FBI in the 70s. Mindhunter, yeah. It's before the Mindhunter guys, just by a few years.
Just by a few years. It would be so interesting to hear, like, their thoughts on her.
Yeah.
I really want to read the book, too.
I know, I always forget it's a book.
Yeah, they co-authored a book about their early research, and I think it goes more into the research part. The Netflix show, if you all haven't seen it, if someone out there really likes true crime stuff, Mindhunter on Netflix was really good.
Yeah.
And really, like, I thought it was very, like, pretty to look at almost, like, or eerie to look at. I really liked the
cinematography.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really good.
But I guess here they're like, oh, you're a psychopath, that means you get less jail time. Makes sense.
Yeah, it totally makes sense.
So the judge, Mr. Justice Cusack, question that you can't answer. Is he a judge and his first name is Justice?
If so, that's the best first name for, like, someone in that profession.
Right?
I think it is. I think that's his, like, first name.
Oh, shoot. I should have looked it up. There's a theory. And I forgot what it's called, but there's a certain, like a psychological theory that our names play a big part in like personality traits and even professions that we go for. So I wonder if that would...
So if your name was like Alexander or Julius, you're going to be a conqueror?
You're going to be like a badass conqueror of that boardroom meeting, you know? Your sales numbers are going to always get it.
That was incredible. Okay.
We'll do an experiment for you all, and we'll name our kid one day Julius and see what happens.
We're not serious.
Absolutely serious.
Okay. Sounds good. Yeah.
But anyway.
It's actually not a bad name.
Yeah, I think it's a nice name.
I think it's a good name.
Mr. Justice Cusack described Mary Bell at the end of the trial. He said that she posed, in quotes, a very grave risk to other children.
I would have to agree with that assessment.
Absolutely. She was sentenced to be detained at Her Majesty's pleasure, effectively an indefinite sentence of imprisonment. What?
That's so weird.
None of this makes sense to me. I don't know if it's because it's the UK. I don't know if it's because it's the 60s. But I thought they charged her with manslaughter. Do they not have like a 4 to 10 year window for that?
Right. I couldn't tell you. I have no idea.
Ugh. British lawyers, let us know what's up. Because this is confusing.
It's very confusing, yeah. Like, at Her Majesty's pleasure, like, so Queen Elizabeth, which is crazy that she's Queen Elizabeth.
It's Queen Elizabeth still,
the same Queen Elizabeth that's Queen now.
Yeah.
Like...
She gets to decide.
Yeah, so I guess if she wanted...
that's a really good point. Like, could she just be like, no, I don't want her to be in prison, and then she's let go? Or...
I think so. Yeah, she's the monarch.
Whoa. Or would there be like a checks and balance thing with the court system? But it did specifically, I read the thing, the decree was at Her Majesty's pleasure.
So, I mean, at her pleasure.
Yeah.
So, like, if Queen Elizabeth was like, nah, fam, I don't like this.
This don't please me anymore?
This does not please me, then she could let her go.
Oh, that's so trippy.
That's so weird. That's so, like, it's so... I feel like that's so, like, 1300s.
Yes! 1300s vibes. Yeah. Very 1300s aesthetic. But after her conviction... Bell was the focus, of course, of a great deal of media attention in England and in Germany. Randomly, I saw that. Germany was really on this story.
Nice.
Her mother repeatedly sold stories about Mary to the press and would even give reporters writings, like journal entries or letters and stuff that she claimed were Mary's to make money.
Wow. Mother of the year.
Yeah, so Betty sucks.
Yeah.
Described by prison psychiatrists as, quote, intelligent, manipulative, and dangerous, Mary continued to cause problems as an inmate, unsurprisingly. And in September of 1977, she actually escaped from prison with another inmate for a while.
Oh, wow. But
the inmates were captured just 3 days later.
Jeez.
But how smart.
That's very smart.
How smart do you have to be to do that? So... in June of 1979, the Home Office, what is that? I don't know. But they announced...
The Home Office. That sounds like, you know what it sounds like? It sounds like a super rich family that has like a home office. Like
their CPA, their lawyer.
It's almost like a hedge fund, but for just a really rich family.
Well, the Home Office, whoever they are, they announced their decision to transfer Mary Bell to HM Prison Askham Grange, which is in... I don't know.
What the hell? What is it? I feel like you just spoke a different language.
Right?
Yeah.
It's an open category prison. So I had to look up that. An open category prison, I don't know if they still exist in the UK. I didn't have time to obviously do like a lot of follow-up research with this episode because I have a lot of questions. So many questions. But an open prison is people get to leave to go to work, like to have a job so they can make money, so when they leave prison they don't have no money.
Oh, like here. Interesting.
Here they leave without any funds.
Right, that's actually a pretty good idea.
I think so as well. So she was moved to an open category.
But not for her.
Not for her.
For her, that's a terrible idea. Yeah.
I think that's a good idea, but not in this instance.
Yeah, not in this instance. It's a horrible idea.
Well, she was moved to the open category prison in the village of Askham Richard in the efforts to prepare her for her eventual release into society, which was already planned for the following year.
Oh my God.
So, beginning in November of 1979, Belle worked first as a secretary and then as a waitress in a cafe in York Minster under supervision guidelines and efforts to prepare her for re-entry into society. Mm-hmm. She was released in May of 1980 at the age of 23.
Wow.
Having served 11 and a half years in custody. She was then granted anonymity, including a new name, allowing her to start a new life elsewhere in the country under an assumed identity because she was so well known and the press was so on top of her release and everything.
Oh my God.
So to protect her, as weird as that sounds, the courts granted her a new identity.
Interesting.
So 4 years after her release from custody, on May 25th, 1984, it is known that Belle gave birth to a daughter.
Oh.
Dun dun dun. Her daughter knew nothing, apparently, of her mother's past until 1998, when reporters discovered Belle's current hideout location in the resort town of Sussex Coast. She was living there with her daughter, and reporters swarmed once they found out, and that's apparently when her daughter found out that her mother had
killed little kids.
Had been a little kid that killed little kids and did jail time for it.
Damn, that's insane.
What?
This is insane. I have never heard of this before.
Right?
Yeah.
What a crazy, difficult thing for her daughter.
Right. This just gets crazier and crazier.
Right? This media revelation forced Belle and her 14-year-old daughter to leave their home and be driven to a safe house by undercover officers because they were both at risk.
Oh my God.
Both mother and daughter later relocated to another part of the United Kingdom. The right to anonymity was granted to Belle's daughter following her birth. So, like, when Mary gave birth, they're like, yeah, you're so famous, you're so well known. Your daughter, her identity is always protected, but only until she's 18. However, on May 21st, 2003, Belle won a high court battle to have her own anonymity and that of her daughter extended for life.
Wow. Interesting.
So, to this day, like right now, no one knows where she or her daughter are. But if their identities or their location were released, then the courts would help, like, reassign them again.
That's so insane.
It's so, like, obviously her daughter is innocent in this situation.
Right.
So that makes sense. But for Mary, it's kind of weird, like...
It's like, well, you lives. Killed kids. Yeah, you ruined countless lives.
Yeah.
Like...
But she was
a kid who was abused, severely abused. Yeah, this would definitely be a really good SVU episode.
Oh, yeah. That's a really good one. We should pitch it to them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll get on that. Don't worry.
We'll get on that. Don't worry, weirdos. We're on that.
In 1998, Belle then collaborated with an author named Gita Serini to make a book about her life before and after her crimes. And the book is titled Cries Unheard, The Story of Mary Belle.
Oh my God.
In this book is where Belle details the abuse that she suffered as a child at the hands of her mother and her mother's sick pedophile clients. For the book, Serini also interviewed relatives, friends, and professionals who knew Mary before, during, and after her imprisonment.
Wow.
Belle's current whereabouts are unknown and remain protected by that 2003 High Court order. And according to Serini, Belle does not claim she was wrongfully convicted.
Oh, wow.
She freely admits to the abuse that the abuse that she suffered as a child does not excuse her crimes. That is the story of 11-year-old murderer Mary Belle. Thank you.
Yeah, I feel like that deserved just a little bit of a clap because that was insane. That was a roller coaster.
It was, there's a lot more information out there. I think there's even like a documentary movie, and I don't know, I think it might have the same title as the book, which is Cries Unheard. Mm-hmm. And people, apparently, like in the UK, people who were around during the story and, you know, were on following this in the news were really upset because Mary made money off the book, and then she made money off the movie. I
mean, probably millions.
Who knows, right?
Right.
There's so much information out there, and again, there's like lots of like awful details that I didn't want to share. I was like, this is so strange and bizarre that I really want to share it, but I didn't want to get into too much like graphic stuff.
No, I think I'm glad you didn't.
I'm glad as well.
Yeah.
I avoid, like, I was reading stuff and I was like, oh, I'm just gonna skip over this.
Right.
But my sources for this week were, I really, really heavily relied on both Wikipedia and Murderpedia.
Oh, okay.
Murderpedia is exactly what it sounds like. It's Wikipedia about murder.
Oh.
And then there was a really good YouTube video called The Case of Mary Bell, 11-year-old serial killer by YouTuber Bella Fiore.
Oh, nice. Okay.
I like her channel. She, like, I found her, I was familiar with her before because she did, like, a funny glow-up video. But she does, like, makeup stuff, and then she also does, like, true crime stuff.
Oh, wow.
So I would check it out.
She a murderino like you?
I wonder. I don't know.
Yes, and by the way, a murderino refers to the How Something Murder podcast. A murder podcast. It's super famous, and I'm just blanking on the name of it, ironically.
It's like the most famous true crime podcast, which is My Favorite Murder.
My Favorite Murder. There we go.
Mm-hmm. But they have said, the hosts of that show have said that the term murderino actually comes from The Simpsons.
Everything comes from The Simpsons. There's literally a South Park episode that The Simpsons already did that, where, like, Butters or someone tries to do, like, a plan for world domination, and, you know, his assistant is like, oh, The Simpsons already did that. The Simpsons already did that. The Simpsons already did that. They've done everything now.
They've got some spooky, like, brujeria going on, because they tell the future.
They do.
They invent things. They're
like 16 years before Donald Trump was elected, they did a scene in The Simpsons that mirrored reality almost exactly.
I've seen that. I've seen those clips side by side.
That's too creepy.
If you all haven't seen it, Google The Simpsons Donald Trump footage side by side.
Yeah.
Super weird. 16 years before, you said?
16 years, yeah, because it would have maybe even slightly more, like 17. Because I think the episode aired in 2000, and obviously he was elected in 2016, so
it's just
nuts.
They've predicted a ton of stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was my less cheerful, but I thought fairly interesting story this week.
Well, thank you so much. I learned all of that today.
Isn't that crazy that we hadn't heard of it?
It is kind of crazy. It just, you know, there's a saying that's like, the more you learn, the more you realize how little you actually know.
Amen. Yeah. I think that's totally accurate. I found this, I was doing just like like when you get in those like Wikipedia rabbit holes.
Oh my God. Yeah.
You're just like, years have gone by and you're still deep diving into different Wikipedia pages.
That's been me with ancient Rome for 20 years now.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah.
And so I don't even remember what I initially was looking at that led to this case. And I was like, that's nuts. I like true crime and things like that, and I'd never heard of this. Really complicated, really scary, really sad story.
Do you think My Favorite Murder has done something like this yet, or has done this story?
I don't know. Let's Google it. Hold on, guys.
Okay, guys, we're in the middle of a Google sesh right now.
Mary Bell, My Favorite Murder.
It doesn't look like it.
They've done like everything. Yeah, I think so.
Oh, they did?
But I don't think I ever heard the episode. I don't listen to like every single one because they're very long.
Did they?
I think so. Mary Bell. I don't know, you guys. Yeah. It's episode 26. Oh, so like way back. Because they're at episode like 300 now.
Oh, yeah, that was from like 2016, so.
So yes, I might listen to that after this.
Oh, look at that.
Look at that.
Okay, weirdos. Alright, enough of our ramblings.
Thank you all so much for listening. As always, you know what to do. Please rate, review, subscribe. It helps folks find the podcast. It gives us feedback. It helps us grow. so we can keep doing this.
Absolutely. And also you can find us on Instagram at History for Weirdos.
That's
also,
right.
my TikTok at Roma.omnia.
It's really good, you guys. Check it out.
Yeah. And, email us at historyforweirdos@gmail.com.
Yes, we love your emails. Like we said at the beginning, you guys do email us, so it makes us so excited.
Yeah, like seriously. So like sometimes we try to respond to all of them. Sometimes we don't, and it's not anything against you. It just literally slips our mind. Yeah, because we've started to get quite a bit now.
Yeah, and we're working and stuff like that. So sometimes we see them and we don't get back to them right away, but we do get back to them. So if we haven't responded to you yet, we will.
That's true.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, weirdos, until next time.
Until next time, weirdos.
Adios.
We all know a guy who only occasionally shaves for big occasions, and it's because that occasional shave really hurts. It's the time of year for big occasions, and yet there he is, suffering with that cheap drugstore razor. Let's help him out. Henson Shaving's line of razors, built with aerospace precision, deliver a smooth shave your dad, brother, and even son can enjoy, eventually. With replacement blades just 10 cents each, you'll buy it once, and they'll use it for life. How's that for the perfect gift? Celebrate with 100 free blades on your first purchase, and no subscription headaches. HensonShaving.com/holiday.
Las ciberofertas de JCPenney están a solo un clic hasta el martes. Encuentra ahorros en jcp.com y acaba con tu lista de regalos, con miles de ofertas como hasta 60% de descuento en mantas térmicas y decorativas, o ropa de invierno para todos desde $14.99. Consiente a esa persona especial con joyería con diamantes y piedras preciosas Yes Please a solo $19.99. JCPenney, celebraciones que valen la pena. Ofertas válidas en selección de estilos hasta el 28 de noviembre solo en línea. Aplican exclusiones. Las ciberofertas se excluyen de los cupones. Detalles en jcp.com.